Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net, here today with another Cricut video. So today we're going to talk about the Wavy blade. So the Wavy blade is actually a new addition to the Cricut Maker. So we've talked so far about the deboss tip as well as the engraving tip. And so you can use the same QuickSwap housing. You can actually put a wavy blade on to make wavy cuts instead of regular cuts with your Cricut Maker. So first, let's take a look at how to make those wavy lines right in Cricut Design Space and how you're going to need to alter your design to account for the wavy blade. The first thing you'll need to do is to make your lines wavy lines. So this could be any line. So for instance, I'm going to add a score line to my canvas. Now you can see when I click that score line, it says score in the line type as well as score on the layers panel. If I pull down the line type, I have a variety of options. I can actually pick wave instead, and although it shows a straight line, it will cut as a wave line because the line type is wave and it says wave in the layers panel. We can do that same thing with a variety of shapes. So for instance, this square is a cut, and I can change it to a wave. So wave in the line type and wave in the layers panel. You can actually do this with images as well. The only thing that you do need to be wary of is that the same restrictions for the rotary blade will apply to the wavy blade as well. So you'll want to have your images be 3/4 of an inch or larger in order for the wavy blade not to dig into your material and your mat. So that indicates that the radius on your project. So if I wanted to cut this cactus, I could make that a wave just the same way we did before. However, you need to be aware that these tight turns on the cactus shape may distort your project. So when you're picking images to use with the wavy blade, you'll just want to be cautious of having tight turns or radii that are smaller than 3/4 of an inch because you could get some distortion. So I'm going to do a variety of cacti, and so you can see what the effect will be, and that way you can make a decision for yourself as to if you're willing to have that digging into the mat and possible distortion of your material with your project, or if you want to enlarge the project so that you don't have that. So now that you have your design all set, now it's time to take a look at the blade. So we're going to take a look at changing out the blade from your QuickSwap housing, as well as putting the blade in your machine. The last of the new Cricut tools we talked about on our YouTube channel was the engrave tip. So I wanted to show you that you can actually use the same QuickSwap housing and just buy a new tip to get the wavy blade. So you just depress the plunger on the top and you're able to pull off the engraving tip. And then with the plunger still depressed, you can put the wavy blade onto the QuickSwap housing and then release the plunger. Now the wavy blade does have a protective cap on it. So you can see that there, and you'll need to pull that off and then put the wavy blade in your machine. So now let's put the wavy blade in the machine and start some cuts. The wavy blade goes in the same holder as the rotary blade, so you just remove the rotary blade from the machine, add the wavy blade in its place, and then you're ready to cut. So now we're ready to cut. What are we going to cut? So I have 8 different materials, everything from cardstock to leather that we're going to cut just as example pieces so you can see how the wavy blade works. Is it right for your projects, and does it do a good job? Like, what kind of pitfalls are you going to come into when you use the wavy blade? So here we go. Alright, so I started with cardstock, which is a typical material, and I'm cutting 3 cactuses on all of these experiments. So this cactus actually uses the correct radiuses that are recommended for the wavy blade. So the wavy blade itself shouldn't make a real tight turn. So these tight turns, like on this cactus,
are actually not recommended with the wavy blade. So what happens is on these tight curves, it actually digs into your mat. And while the mat is fine to use again, it can over time diminish the life of the mat itself. So you might want to watch your curves, or you can be like me and go ahead and do these and know that your mat life will be diminished. It just depends on what type of project you want to do. So if I made these cacti larger, so if they were really large, then the radius itself would get larger and these wouldn't be a problem. So it's just a problem with like small pieces like these. But I really wanted to put the wavy blade to the test, so this is what I did. So right away, anywhere that I had too tight of a curve, the paper sort of curled up a little bit. So I noticed that right away. And then the second thing I noticed right away is that sometimes on this cactus, so these two, it seemed to start and stop on a corner, so it wasn't a problem. But on this particular version, it tended to start and stop on the side over here, and that at times left one wave that was imperfect. So it was sort of an imperfect wave as you look at your final project. So just be aware that you might have some issues with the curves if they're too tight, where the blade stops and starts. And then as well, so if I wanted a card, so if I wanted to cut a square out of this, and these cactus were actually my scrap, so this was actually my finished piece. The wavy blade itself goes slightly over the line where these intersections are. So I've got small cuts here, so it's not exactly perfect. So you can kind of see that better there. So you can see where the lines met. There's a slight imperfection on the corner. So just be aware of that for your projects with the wavy blade. Next up, I went with a craft board. So this is just like a thicker version of cardstock, just to give you an idea of, are there any changes with the thicker cardstock? I really didn't see a whole lot. The imperfections were more prominent the thicker the material. So what we talked about with the tight radiuses and the imperfections, those were more prominent. I had the same issue on the side over here where the wave didn't meet and it actually ripped when I tried to take it off. But this one, which uses the correct settings and the correct radius, is actually fine, so it actually looks great. But the other ones did have more issues the thicker the material. So just be aware of that on your projects. So the wavy blade can also be used on vinyl and iron-on. So I've actually haven't even weeded this. So this is a piece of vinyl, and it's actually the Cricut vinyl. And I'm just gonna pick up the corner here, and we're gonna peel this back and see what these cacti look like with the wavy blade. So in the corner, stuck a little bit, not too bad. The one in the center comes off perfectly, and the one on the end is not too bad. Again, I'm having the same issue on this side of this cactus where the blade is starting and stopping. It's just not a perfect match. And so when I get there, I have just a little imperfection in the cut. I can still pull it off, I could still use it, but a little imperfection. And as well, on these really tight curves, the vinyl is a little bit messed up where it's trying to cut that and just pushing it up a little bit. So same thing for iron-on. So this is a heat transfer vinyl. It's actually the Cricut brand, and I'm just going to weed this right now. I've not looked at the cuts at all, and we'll see what it looks like. So same project, so same 3 cacti, and actually the iron-on is actually really good. Even with the tight curves, it actually did pretty good. So it looks like it's a little more forgiving. If you look really closely, there's a slight imperfection where the start and stop met on this side, but you would have to look really closely, I think, to see that. Otherwise, these actually look pretty good. And would be really cute on a project. So the cacti and the wavy blade, I think, just makes really cute cactus shape. Sort of looks like the spike on the cactus. So what about fabric? You can cut fabric with the wavy blade. So it would almost be like you were using a pair of pinking shears on the material when you did this. So that would be the benefit to using the wavy blade to cut fabric, which I could definitely see that for a lot of projects. I mean, it did pretty well. Here are my 3 example pieces. Overall on the tight curves and even where it met, it would be fine. And of course when it starts, it's fraying, of course, as I pulled it off the mat, but of course as with pinking shears, as it starts to fray, it should stop on those divot points, so hopefully that would work. So that's one application for the wavy blade, would be kind of like a pinking shear type look to your fabric cuts. This one is my absolute favorite. So this is felt, and I love the way these turned out when using felt. The imperfection, I think it's still there, but it's barely noticeable. The curves look amazing. So this is like my favorite one of the materials I tried, because they just look so cute and could definitely be used for a project. So I'll definitely be using my wavy blade, I think, for felt projects, and might have to make a project with felt cacti because these look super cute. Alright, now for a few weird materials. So this is acetate, and it's like a thin plastic sheet. It actually has a protective layer on it, and you need to peel that back after you cut it. But the cactus themselves look pretty good. There are some imperfections where the tight radius is, as well as on the side of this cactus where we've been talking about where the stop and start is. Otherwise they look pretty good. I did have to kind of punch them out of the acetate. I think it was just a few of the curves kind of hung on a little bit, but overall it did a good job cutting. So definitely think you could use the wavy blade on acetate without issue. Alright, now for the big test. So I took genuine leather and cut it with the wavy blade. So number one, with the wavy blade, I'm not sure if you could go 2 passes on anything. I didn't try that at all. So it would need to cut it in 1 pass. So this is the first cacti, so that shaped guy there. The second one, as you can see, you might not be able to see anything because the blade got stuck. And this is actually the one that is just the semicircle shape. So it should have cut it perfectly, and it did not. So it did get stuck during the cut. So be aware that if you're cutting leather, you might need to make your curves even larger. But here I am pulling this one off. I've not even pulled it off yet. The cuts look really good. So I would make your curves even larger than noted for the wavy blade. And then I can still see the slight imperfection where it stops and starts right here, so just note that. Otherwise, the wavy blade does a really good job on leather, so you could actually use this on your leather crafts if you wanted to get a wavy look to the edge on some of your leather projects. So overall, the wavy blade is the answer if you wanted a wavy cut on a project. So yes, you could make a wavy line on, say, a square or something like that with just a wave, like in Cricut Design Space. But that's going to be really difficult if you want something like a cactus in a wavy shape. The wavy blade is definitely the answer. Now, we went through quite a few materials, quite a few do's and don'ts with the wavy blade, and I hope you learned a little bit about the wavy blade, how to design your projects for maximum success, and I hope you'll pick one up and give it a try. If you make any projects, we'd love to see them. Be sure to join our Facebook group. I have a link for that in the description for this video. If you loved this video and learning all about the wavy blade, be sure to give us a thumbs up. If you love videos like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do them all the time. And we have one more tip left. So we have the perforating tip left, and you don't want to miss the video on that one. If you missed the engrave, the deboss, any of the other tips, be sure to head back on our YouTube channel and you can find those. If you can't find any of those, leave a comment below. Have a question? Leave a comment below. I will answer those as soon as I can, and I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned a little something. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.